Alright, yeah, this is part 4 of schizophrenia and mental health, my experiences. Yeah, I think I'm just getting back to the point where I started to get very freaked out in my own room, basically. I started to feel, in a sense, that I'd opened doorways to not very nice things. This kind of belief cycled through my mind, this experience. Because really, what you go through during these times, you do experience it. They are your reality. It's not like, you might think something about something and you say to someone, you think, oh, maybe it's this. It's not like that for someone with psychosis or anyone really. I think we have to realise, or I realise, and I realise other people, that what they go through is their reality. I mean, some people do, kind of, they might exaggerate or dramatise situations and experiences, but really when you're going through this psychosis, particularly psychosis and any other kind of mental health condition, it really is their experience. What they say is what their reality, and that is a really powerful concept and a very philosophical idea, really, to me, because it made me question the actual sense of what we call reality. In human civilization, society, what is reality? Because really, it's only what the majority experience, and they're called consensus reality, and that changes through time as well. So it really does get you to question what is reality for one person. How real is that when compared to others? But I have realised actually since that a lot of my experiences of psychosis and my spiritual experiences, mystical experiences, and quite frightening and terrifying experiences I had while during psychosis and schizophrenia, do have many correlations to what other people have experienced, like spiritual battles with demons or devils, or encounters with angels and spirit guides and things. But because these people had generally stable states of mind and they were never picked up by the mental health system, some people, you hear these amazing stories of these spiritual teachers or these mystics or these people who've had these battles, spiritual battles, but they've come out the other end and they've kind of come out stronger. And really, yeah, that gets to the point as well where, I remember going to a Mind mental there's a mental health charity in Britain called Mind. I went to one of their conferences in Harrogate quite a few years ago, probably about 8 or 9 years ago now. Got paid for by the local resource centre, and this this guy who was from Africa but now lived and worked in London and had mental health problems. He said in parts of Africa where he comes from, they say over there, if they're going through psychosis and madness, that they have this understanding within the community that they'll come out wiser and stronger people for it. And there are other ideas. I think I've heard other people say stuff like, when people are on that spiritual path, uh, they need to break through the kind of matrix, so to speak, and they either jump over the chasm and break through the matrix and become kind of, mystics or spiritual leaders or whatever, or they fall down the chasm and they suffer great psychosis or schizophrenia and things. And I don't think it's so two-sided as that. I don't think it's so much one side and the other. I think when you do come out of experiences like that, and any trauma, anyone, get through any experience in life, any suffering, it can usually, I mean, if you come out the other end, it makes us more holistic people, more able to empathise and have compassion for each other, and kind of like stimulate the sense of human empathy when we understand what it's really like to suffer. And that really has, for me, really stimulated it, my sense of empathy and compassion for those who suffer like I have, and like anyone does, with bereavement, with death, with whatever, our own suffering. We all, as human beings, we all tend to go through a lot of suffering at many points of our lives, and having empathy and compassion for each other, that we're all on the same basis pretty much. We're all having a human experience, or even a conscious experience, a sentient experience like animals do and humans do. And I suppose that, in my belief and experience, that the universe is all consciousness. I mean, plants have some form of consciousness, and having a connection to that spiritual energy, that spirit, that chi, that life force, and having suffered ourselves, in my experience, gives me, and what I've seen in other people, great empathy and compassion for each other. So I do really think, in a sense, there is a purpose to suffering, there is a purpose to trauma, to overcome these obstacles and become more better, wiser, holistic people for it. And we may not do it in this lifetime, but I really believe we do eventually become, you know, what would you call it, kind of transformed and reconfigured and progressed and developed into much more whole, understanding, empathic, you know, spiritual beings in the long run for what all that we go through, good and bad, whatever, you know. Anyway, so yeah, I'll get back to my story, what was going on. So I started to feel in my room that basically I opened gateways to some really dark, heavy shit, you know, really dark, heavy stuff, and there was beings almost constantly lingering in my room, ready to pounce and get into my head. And whenever I go in there, I'd feel this kind of tight, dark energy, this evil spirit kind of literally lingering and trying to enter my head. And later on in my psychosis, when I returned to that room, I did have some very horrible experiences in it. I remember trying to lie down, this was early on, and I almost felt this spirit and energy jump through my crown chakra, like into me, and kind of like, you know, messing me about really badly. And I started to pick up a massive fear and phobia of going into my room. And so I'll go around friends' houses, I'll try and stay around, and this is where the kind of psychosis started to really escalate. And at the time I did give up. About 2 months before this started to happen, really started to snowball effect and escalate into deeper and deeper psychosis, I had given up all drugs and all. I stopped smoking cannabis. I wouldn't go near ecstasy or anything like that. And I was trying to take the more Buddhist approach of no intoxicants to reach the spiritual path on a balanced, steady way, on a steady path, on a steady level that will have the greatest effect in the long run, which I do really still believe and have integrity for. I do really believe that now and try and practice that now through steady meditational practices and other spiritual acts of kindness and spirituality, and having a spiritual mindset, having love and kindness and compassion. You do reach spiritual states of consciousness, but in a more steady, gradual and safer, balanced way. And I really advocate that now, and I practice that myself. So yeah, I started to get really into this belief that I'd opened up this dark gateways basically in my room. And I can't remember all the experiences I had there, but I remember just walking around the streets, the residential area by my mum's and my sister's, and I could not take, but just even walking on concrete anymore was just too much. I literally felt the kind of concrete was like an artificial skin, an artificial armour, not even an armour, an artificial blanket that was disconnecting the natural flow of chi, life force, earth energy to the cosmos, to the stars, to the sky. And I do really still feel that now, that concrete has great practical uses. You know, drive on it, walk on it, it won't get muddy, but on the same level it disconnects that natural flow of energy from the earth to the heavens, to the sky and stars. And so that's time I was starting to really freak out by the streets and stuff. Even the street lights I felt were subduing my consciousness. The street lights were suppressing my mind, and I felt almost like my consciousness was being purposely shut down. I did actually start to feel that I was being attacked every day, near enough every moment, by anything I encountered. And I started to gain these really quite big beliefs in kind of that there are these forces out there that literally trying to suppress our consciousness, our raising of consciousness big time. But I felt I was being intimately and personally attacked nearly enough at every moment by this. So kind of I remember going and trying to sit with my mom downstairs and trying to forget all what was going through my head. And the TV, I would feel this massive amount of static energy kind of from the TV, almost from like some sort of horror film or something, or this kind of like demonic controlling energy behind what was going on the TV come over me and literally what I called it at the time was staticate me. I felt my brain functioning, and my crown chakra was being shut off by this radiation and static energy, and it was so severe I couldn't sit there anymore. And so nighttime particularly was for that couple of months and continuing was really difficult for me, because I felt there was no escape. At night time there really was no escape, and it started to become a horror film in my own head, in my own life. severely. I mean, I had someone what termed it, and they explained it very well. It's like existential terror. It's not just the fear of your own life, it's not the fear of your body dying, it's literally the fear of your soul being completely annihilated and possessed and overtaken, and your very existence and all that is, the world and all that is, being completely blown away and taken away. And this experience of like, you know, demons on my every move, it was almost like a kind of army of darkness that kind of set out to kind of destroy and annihilate what I was doing. And all these various experiences I went through, and this is what I was experiencing. No matter what you believe, no matter what people say, no matter what I say about this was my reality at the time. This was what I was experiencing. So basically, the telly almost had a subliminal voice behind it that was radiating me and pulsating this very dark suppressive energy. And radiation, I felt, was staticating my light body and staticating my auric field, so my energies couldn't function through me. And I started to feel I really had to get out of urban life, you know, urban territory. I'd walk the streets and I feel disconnected. Even the shapes of houses and windows all being rectangular and square, I saw this as an oppressive energy. And rectangles and street lights, and I felt affected, and I started having experiences of seeing like these things in the sky, which I believed were alien spacecraft that probably exist in another. I experienced them existing normally in another dimension, but they were coming through to me to try and control me and suppress me, and they were part of the game. They were part of the attack that I was suffering. And so basically, I realised I had to get out. I couldn't stay. I mean, even in the daytime, I was walking past people and their consciousness, their energy, almost seemed, just by walking past them, suppressed me. I would like walk past someone. This happened on a few occasions, actually, quite a few times over a period of a few months, and around this time especially, quite a few times. I walked past someone, and it's like I could almost feel all their life pain just transmuted onto me. And if they were frowning or angry or upset about something, I would literally feel all that, but like so much more stronger than even they was. And I almost felt completely suppressed by the consciousness in the residential area and in my town. I had to get out, and so all my kind of avenues were closed. And so I realised, being a nature lover and a believer in Gaia and the consciousness of the earth, I kind of went to my nan's, asked her if she had any old blankets. I got bits of blankets from here and there, got my tent, and I went out to the local nature reserve, where I started to build a settlement for myself. I mean, I was really incredibly brave, because I was staying out there, you know, with a tent. I started to take all my crystals and things out there, started to take clothes and stuff, and I tried to make it camouflaged and stuff. And then so I started to stay in the woods. And that was great. That was quite a respite to me, being around natural energy, natural chi, something else that was living. I feel so much in society we're so detached from living energy. The life force is taken away from all the bricks and mortar and concrete, that we're losing our natural connection to life force, the Earth's life force, which grounds us and connects us. And I still really believe that. But I was feeling this at the time, where I just could not handle being around bricks, mortar, rectangular shapes. The whole structure of society in town in this area felt just like a suppression from the empire, almost like the Roman Empire was still oppressively forcing, and I felt this complete attack to control my consciousness and subdue my awareness. And so I started to move everything out into the woods. So I started to build a settlement. I found loads of old chopped down long sticks, and so I started to build a teepee. And I built it great. I did it great. I found bits of plastic sheeting in skips. I found sackcloth in skips, and I built probably about a 9-foot teepee, and it was good. It wasn't warm in there though. But so some nights I stayed in there, and I'd come to town, and I started to get this kind of really all these experiences were really ingraining in me. This kind of sense that I was a kind of spiritual seer, and I was fighting something that no one could understand. I had the realization that other people would not be able to understand this, and I started to really get the feeling I had to see someone like, you know, Buddhist monks or Christian monks or nuns or wise women or shaman, or witches, to help me understand what I was going through. Because it was really, I realised I was experiencing being a spiritual seer, but under the attack of many damning, aggressive, dominant forces that were trying to suppress my consciousness and energy. And this was my experience. So I kind of stay in the woods at night time, and in the day I'll probably try and see friends or something, or see the family. But when I was with family, I wasn't eating or drinking, hardly ever. I saw an old friend, and he saw how hungry I looked and how starving I was. And I started to get the belief in my head that I could live without food and water, that I would live purely off light. I believed that food was sedating me and dumbing down my consciousness, and I'd be best to do without it. I was very influenced by ideas of the yogis and people who live for months without eating and things, and I do believe that is true, but people can do that. But at the time I was really mentally unstable, and my nutrition in my body wasn't very good, so he used to bring me a bit of food up to my settlement in the woods. And this is a massive long story. I'll try not to bore anyone or anything, but I think it's an experience I like to share with people, and I think it's very important that we do share any of our experiences, whatever they are. So, say like in the day, I could try and see my mum and my sister, and or my other sister or my brother or something. Usually it would happen with my sisters or my mums, and I started to believe that they obviously wanted to feed me, to make sure I was eating okay, and so they'll give me food. But when they'll give me food, I saw in my kind of third eye this dark force that was lingering around in the auric field around us, was putting darkness into my food. And this was back into my beliefs of very polarised thinking of light and darkness and the eternal struggle. And whenever they'd make me some food, I would see it, and just before it got to me, it looked like it was kind of pulsating in evil energy, in dark suppressive energy that would damage my light body and damage my soul and my essence. And so I was confused with this belief of like, shall I eat it? And kind of like my sister's or my mum's belief was kind of like, have it, it's good for you. And so in my head I was having this thing where, should I eat it? Do I need it? Or is it got a darkness is going to harm me? And sometimes I wouldn't eat it, and other times I did eat it. And as I ate it, I felt this kind of, almost like this kind of radiating darkness kind of come from my stomach and fill my mind, and I felt I was becoming more and more dumbed down by this dark evil energy. It's almost like I felt that anything of material substance other than nature and natural things was harmful to me, extremely harmful and damaging to who I was. And so I was really caught up in this belief, and from that obviously most of the time I wasn't eating or drinking. So at the time I was just starting to leave my college course, and I designed these leaflets. Over the periods of weeks and months I was designing this leaflet, and it was called about a revolutionary leaflet. It was called, the leaflet was in red, and I designed it myself, and it said something new, and it was about people in the community trying to take control of their own lives and making the society better for us. I had very grandiose ideas that I would try and, I was beginning to believe I had to do my part in the coming revolution and the coming changes that would happen. I read a lot of Nostradamus before that, and these themes and beliefs of the apocalypse happening was very prevalent in my mind, and I believed I had to do something about it. I had to play my part to help awaken people and help to realise that they must organise and get together and do what they need to do to overcome the apocalypse and get through as a humanity. And I knew a lot of people wouldn't understand me or believe me, but I really believed I had to do my part to help tackle this. And this theory of apocalyptic ideas has been a running theme throughout my adult life, really, and kind of my psychosis as well. But so yeah, I designed this leaflet, and I think I got 200 leaflets printed off, which I paid like £30 for, at an old place I worked at for work experience, and I paid for it from doing a paper round for a bit, which I was completely lost. I only did it a few times, and then got the money, never come back, and I got some money from job seekers allowance, which I paid for. And so in the night I was staying in my teepee or my tent, and in the day I was going round, standing on the streets of my hometown, giving out these leaflets. Also, I remember in one of Nostradamus' prophecies, it said the flame of the sect, a flame of a new sect will spread the world over, and the main colour of this sect would be red. And so I believed I had to wear red. I had these old red jeans that a friend's dad got me, a red t-shirt I used to wear, even in really cold winter, and I would wear them and go into town wearing all red and giving out these red leaflets. And so I must have looked pretty mad, or of some sort of weird faction or spiritual sect, but I was trying to congregate and gather people together to try and organise to make improvements in community, and trying to like gain a gathering of people to kind of become revolutionaries, really. And that's what I really believed. But all this was, I'd have periods of kind of wellness where the psychosis wouldn't be so there, then other times where it really come and attack me, and I felt completely victimised, pulverised, you know, but always experiences. But I'll go on more in more of the videos, because I really want to share this story with you, because I think it's, to me, I find anyone's experiences of life fascinating, and especially psychosis is a personal interest of mine. But I'll continue the rest on in future videos, and yeah, thanks for watching.